Hello everybody, welcome to CXO Cockpit, Digital Performance Reporting. Today's webinar is how do customers benefit from CXO digital reporting. So today's speakers, you can hear myself, Alfonso Colonino. I'm going to take you through the beginning part of today's presentation. I have three colleagues with myself. So Jean-Pierre, he's going to do a demonstration for you today. And then my two colleagues, Edgar and Joost, they will be talking about the customer case studies that we have for you. So over on the right, you can see the agenda. So we have, it's a very short webinar, 30 minutes. You may write questions in the top part of the of your console. If you have any questions, we will take them at the end if we have time. We've got a lot to get through today. So very quickly, I'm going to take you through who we are and what we do. I'll tell you about our customers, and then we're going to hand over to the individual case studies to share with you how these customers of ours have benefited and added value to their financial reporting process. So first of all, as a starting point, as you can see by the image on the screen, which represents most organizations, key financial reports generally are generated using Excel, PDF, or PowerPoint. So I want to take you through a typical process that we see on a regular basis. So typically, from a traditional standpoint, EPM, Enterprise Performance Management Reporting, generally organizations have data stored in multiple data sources. You can see a number of those on the left-hand side. They can be in cubes, they can be in Excel spreadsheets, but typically at month-end reporting, we tend to see them dumped into the world of Excel. And that's where a lot of manual activity takes place in terms of creating the report pack. Once a report pack is actually created, it's generally distributed by email to the recipients. Again, we tend to see that familiar Excel spreadsheet, the PowerPoint, the PDF documentation, and you can see some of the drawbacks on the right-hand side, indicating some of the challenges associated with this traditional approach to reporting. So what can we do differently? Well, CXO Cockpit provides digital performance reporting, which is simplified, it's secure, it's connected, and it's controlled. And it does that by connecting to the underlying data sources on the left-hand side of the screen. We connect directly to those systems, or indirectly in some cases. The detail we can provide for you a little bit later on, but ultimately we are bringing data towards CXO Cockpit as the visualization solution. And on the right-hand side, we can now see some of the key value of CXO Cockpit being generated on the screen. The ability to automate the production of reporting packs. We've got probably a leading commentary collection capability within the solution itself. Straight away, the solution is available on a mobile, the iPad, Android device. And of course, you would expect for it not to be static. You can drill down into the data. It's very heavily associated with the Office of Finance. So a lot of what you will see and hear today is associated with financial reporting, balance sheet, cash flows, financial key performance indicators. So let me just move forward to my final slide, which is a little bit about some of the leading customers that we are going to present with you today. You can see them on the screen now. So CXO Cockpit has in excess of 80 global customers currently using CXO today, and sitting on top of some of those leading solutions we've just seen. We're going to go into a little bit more detail about these particular customers right now. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague Joost, who is going to take over from this point onwards. Joost, are you there?
I'm there, Alfonso. Thank you very much for this great introduction. What I want to show you, and maybe we can show the first picture here, is the process normally our new customers start with. So what they do, they replace their existing Excel reports by CXO Cockpit reports, and then, for example, their profit and loss, their balance sheet, etc. So this is often the first step I see at our customers, what they do with CXO Cockpit. A next step, which is very valuable, is adding different data sources to the financial data. So still, the profit is there, cash, capital, etc. But what I see lately, more and more customers doing is adding data like HR data, sales data to their financial data. And then CXO Cockpit is suddenly positioned as a central management dashboard. And you can even go a step further with CXO Cockpit, and that you see on the right, by adding more intelligence to your dashboards. And one of the examples is Predictive Analytics. What I mean with that is that you, based on historical data, calculate, for example, your forecast for the future. And by doing this, you add a lot of value to CXO Cockpit. So at the end, CXO Cockpit is offering you far more than where we started with on the left side. One of the examples of customers doing this is Axol Noble. You see them here in this picture, in this slide, amongst with some other of our customers. And they are really using CXO Cockpit next to the standard financial reporting for predictive analytics. And here you see also some other examples of our customers. For example, on the right, you see Summit Materials, Summit company, construction company, growing fast via acquisitions. And they are using CXO Cockpit mainly also to integrate, financially integrate new companies into their own system, which is working great for them. But we will go into detail for some other cases, some other customers. And I will hand over now to my colleague Edgar. He will start now with giving you some examples of some other customer cases. Edgar?
Well, thank you, Joost, for this introduction. I've brought to this webinar two customer cases, and the first one is a great example from Bhalla Needham. Bhalla Needham is a Dutch-based construction and engineering company with more than 400 entities, and they are running a project portfolio of more than 800 projects. During the economic crisis, projects were more and more put on hold or postponed, which has a huge impact on all construction and engineering firms, including Bhalla Needham. And this is when having an accurate cash flow forecast on the project portfolio became key and even critical in the reporting towards their credit institutions. To be right on the ball, the cash flow forecast has to be provided on a weekly basis. And before the cash flow forecast has been introduced within CXO, the process was quite cumbersome, taking up to a full week to only collect the data and work on the numbers and putting together the reports. By introducing CXO, the production of the figures was brought down to only 3 days per week instead of 5, and this was leaving 2 more days to start analyzing the figures in more detail and deliver narratives explaining any deviations on the figures. But there was even more. By showing into one single report different versions of the forecast, the one submitted the week before and even 2 weeks ago, and requesting explanations on any large deviations, also the quality of the cash flow forecast improved significantly. And this can be seen on the right-hand side in the screenshot provided. If you look to the graph on the left side in the green screenshot, you can see a red line, which is the forecast of the current week, the green line representing the forecast provided the week before, and the blue dotted line is the forecast provided 2 weeks before. And furthermore, you can see a black line, which is representing the business plan. Using CXO, Bhalla Needham was able to steer more accurate on their project portfolio during crisis and still is as of today. In beginning of the year 2016, Bhalla Needham got acquired by Renaissance and is now managed as a separate division within the Renaissance group. The cash flow forecast is still part of their reporting processes within Bhalla Needham and within the Renaissance group. Some other great example comes from Leeuwen Pipes and Tubes Group. Van Leeuwen Pipes and Tube Groups is a family-owned international trading business specialized in pipes and tubes and appliances for pipes and tubes. Van Leeuwen Pipes and Tube Groups is based in the Netherlands with a net sales of €550 million in 2016. A major trend amongst their customers is that their customers stopped maintaining stocks of their own and are expecting Van Leeuwen Pipes and Tubes Groups to maintain sufficient stock to supply their needs. And at the same time, these customers would also like to have their orders delivered as soon as possible, and of course against the lowest possible costs. Therefore, stock keeping management became crucial for Van Leeuwen Pipes and Tubes Group, having fast-moving stock always at the right levels and having low and or non-moving stock items at the lowest level as possible. Before CXO Cockpit was implemented, stock data was not centrally available. CXO was implemented, and by using our data warehouse adapter, Van Leeuwen Pipes and Tubes Groups was able to collect stock data and store this information centrally within CXO. And even more, Van Leeuwen Pipes and Tube Group is now able to blend the stock data with their financial data coming from Hyperion Financial Management. Using CXO Cockpit, Van Leeuwen Pipes and Tube Groups is now able to manage their stock levels as accurately as possible, which is obviously key for their business. And now I hand it back over to Joost for some more case studies.
Thank you, Edgar. What I will show you is the case study of Axol Noble, a well-known company, I think, a company located in 80 countries, almost 50,000 employees, and they are using CXO Cockpit since 2011 already on different sources. So one of the sources is HFM, Hyperion Financial Management from Oracle, but they also add other financial data and also data regarding health, safety, environmental data. The user group is from C-level management. They use their iPad, for example, in the board meetings with CXO Cockpit on it, but also supply chain, HR, and finance is using CXO Cockpit. And here you see a short overview of their CXO Cockpit journey. On the left side where they started, on the right side where they are now. So on the left side, if I start with the first line, they started with using CXO Cockpit reports, our standard templates with the standard CXO Cockpit look and feel. But nowadays, it's completely customized to their own look and feel. For example, they added their logo, their own colors, etc. So they really transformed our reports into Axol Noble reports. In the beginning, it was just another source of information. So next to all kind of other sources, CXO Cockpit was just one other source. At this moment, it's the only version of the truth. So by combining all kind of different data sources in CXO Cockpit, it's now a central management dashboard for Axol Noble. In the beginning, it was also a standalone tool, and nowadays the tool is really embedded in critical processes like the flash reporting, the monthly reporting, the quarterly reporting. And so at this moment, it's one of their main tools in the financial reporting process. Starting with data and information, nowadays, CXO Cockpit really provides insight to the top management of this huge company. And in the beginning, it was also, CXO Cockpit was only used at corporate level. And nowadays, it's also used at corporate, of course, but also used throughout the business units and the regions. So, of course, you want to know which kind of reports are they using. And here you see one example. Of course, data is confidential, so we cannot show everything. But I think it gives a good idea of the reports Axol Noble is using within CXO Cockpit. Here you see an example, net financing expenses. On top you see the point of view for 2016, December, and the entity. The data is coming from HFM, but what you also see here is on the bottom part, you see the comments, which is a great functionality within CXO Cockpit where you can add comments to your figures, in this case coming from HFM. And of course, if you go back 1 month, you see the comments of last month. This is another report, also like Edgar showed you, a report with data coming from an external source. This is also one example showing data regarding safety, for example, illness, health. So this data was not in HFM, but they wanted to have a few reports with this data into their management pack. So they decided to enter the data via the data warehouse adapter of CXO Cockpit into CXO Cockpit, and nowadays they just can add these reports to their management board management pack. And the end user, that's the great thing, I think, the end user doesn't see where the data is coming from. So for the end user, it's just data in their management pack. Another example, here you see a combination of a table and a chart, in this case a bridge chart. One other example, here you see, for example, comparison between different business areas, also by showing different charts. And what I already mentioned is the predictive analytics. And here you see an example of such a graph. So in this case, the actual month is March 2017. So you see the dark blue line, which is the actuals till March 2017. And then after that, the light blue line is presenting the prediction. So that's calculated by CXO Cockpit based on the historical data also present in CXO Cockpit. And then the blue area around it, that's the confidence level of the prediction. And next to that, you see also the budget line, the yellow line. So in this case, yeah, you can easily, when the actuals, for example, of May 2017 are available, you can easily check if your predicted forecast is in line with the actuals. And what other companies are also doing is, for example, comparing the forecast made by the people in your company, and they compare that to the forecast which is calculated by CXO Cockpit, which gives a whole different discussion about your forecast. Another example I want to give you is De Laval. It's a company producing integrated milking solutions, and they're using CXO Cockpit since last year. And their data sources, the data is coming from SAP BPC, but they also add sales data to CXO Cockpit, and also, which is very interesting, I think, external benchmarking data. So they can compare data, their own data. They can compare this data with data coming from other companies, which brings them a lot of value. The users within De Laval of CXO Cockpit are the C-level management, but also the senior managers, the financial controllers, but also other business users, up to 500 people. And what is very interesting within De Laval, they rolled out a self-service concept, which gives the employees, the managers, the possibility to find their own data. And here you see some do's and don'ts. So by implementing the self-service concept, there are a number of do's. For example, the first one is standardize your data and not just give your managers a fancy tool which is showing data but nobody agrees to this data. The other one is what they did very well within De Laval. They defined and also agreed upon the KPIs. And what they did not do was just reproducing what they already have. At the end, that doesn't bring any value. What they also did very well was involving the business users while they were designing the dashboards. And so the business users were really giving them the requirements for these new dashboards. And that helped them a lot in the change management. So by implementing CXO Cockpit, you also need to do change management, and doing it in this way, it helped them in getting a high user adoption of CXO Cockpit. Here you see the current use, so not only financial data, what I already mentioned, but also data for sales, sales reporting, the daily sales. So CXO Cockpit is used daily, on a daily basis, but it's also used in the board meetings where they show their key KPIs. You can see the group performance, but also performance per area. So there is a lot of interesting, highly valuable data information available within CXO Cockpit. And this is one of the examples from the Laval. It's a sales dashboard where you see some main KPIs, and you see, of course, with the red and the green if they are doing well, and also some explanation on the right side in the graph. So one last example, I see that I have 3 minutes left, my colleague says. That's McDonald's Germany. Everybody knows this company. In Germany, they own 1,500 restaurants, around 60,000 employees, and are using CXO Cockpit since 2013. It's quite interesting. They choose CXO Cockpit from a long list of 12 potential vendors, and they are using Hyperion S-Base, Oracle Hyperion S-Base. And the users are from C-level management to the restaurant managers, which is also very interesting. So each restaurant manager can see, for example, the revenue of his own restaurant. Some main advantages of CXO Cockpit for McDonald's. The first one was the efficiency. They really went down in the number of PDF reports and emails. So it was a very valuable for them, saved a lot of time. So that's also number two, less hours in creating Excel sheets, far more time left for analytics. And one interesting thing McDonald's did, they developed a style guide. So they wanted to ensure that information is displayed similar on every report. And here you see one of their slides. On the left side, you see their Excel reports, which they used to produce. In the middle, they defined a style guide with the font sizes, the colors, etc. And on the right side, you see a few examples of CXO reports, which clearly show exactly the same look and feel on every report. And this is a great advantage for McDonald's because it makes it very easy for the end users also to read and to understand the reports within CXO Cockpit. So this was my last example. I hand over now to my colleague Jean-Pierre.
Good afternoon, everybody. The fourth voice on the call today. My name is Jean-Pierre, and I am taking you through a very short demo just to wrap up this session today. You've seen some great examples of different ways that some of our customers use our solution, and I'm just going to show you in our standard demo how CXO Cockpit looks like. But first of all, I will share with you what I'm not going to show during this demo, which is quite a bit. So the demo is going to be really short, but there's a lot of really key elements in our solution that are very valuable for our customers. So you won't see how we connect to these leading finance systems that Alfonso talked about, how we can do the multiple sourcing from these systems into one dashboard, the report generation, the printing, which is by default in there, the commenting functions, the chat functions, calculations, mobile use. It's all in the software, but because I only have a couple of minutes to show you how the software looks like, I will not give you any further demo on that. But of course, you are more than welcome to visit either our website to look at a live demo or to phone or contact us and get more information on the live demo itself. So I've opened up a standard template, and CXO has 15 standard templates and one template where you can basically from a library of objects create your own dashboard. And I will show you some examples as well. Maybe it's going to time out, but I'm going to give it a try. So first thing our customers really like, and there's the timeout. So I'm quickly going to log in, and this can be done through Active Directory. So very easy. And by the way, it's browser agnostic. So you can have it in any sort of browser. And the front end is HTML5. So it also resizes automatically to the device that you're holding in your hands. But I was showing you the drill. So our customers really like the capability of drilling into accounts or KPIs. And we can drill into, let's say, a different dimension of an account, or we can drill simply to drill in the children that are specific from the underlying source system. And that's one of the key elements of CXO Cockpit, is that we inherit by default all the intelligence from your underlying source system. So there's nothing that we need to do to make this drill happen. CXO will automatically understand that in your underlying, in this case, HFM database, direct cost is split up by total compensation, by professional services, travel, entertainment, and administrative costs. And by just clicking on an account, I'll get on the right side more detailed information on that specific account that I have selected. So if I would click on net sales, it will jump to net sales. If I click on home cinema, etc., etc. The interesting piece as well is that CXO will follow the structure of the database as well in this little pick list. So CXO understands that net sales is divided by channel, by customer, by product, and by entity level here. And it will also understand, if I click on gross margin, that then it's only split up by product and by entity level. So that sort of intelligence is automatically pulled from your underlying data source into CXO Cockpit without you having to worry about that. Obviously, I can drill here and open up all my product lines and quickly see how my gross margin is doing. If I want to do that for a different entity and I have the user rights to do that, I can also simply drill down in the point of view and, for instance, look at, in this case, my gross margin on my products for the European entity alone. And by the way, at the bottom, you see some commenting specifically for this dashboard, for this P&L, for this particular period on a European basis. So if I would open up another entity, or I go back to the top entity, for instance, you would see that the comments will also change to specifically the headquarter comments. And as the group controller, I also have the capability of looking at my subsidiary comments. And here you see the European comments that I just showed you in the European point of view. And finally, on the comments, there is a lot of very thoughtful functionality on the commenting behind the little pencil here. So if I edit my comments, I can manage attachments, but I can also copy my children from the underlying commenting entities to my own commenting box, which is of course very valuable at the end of the month if you are trying to come up with a total commenting box for all the entities. Quickly wrapping up this demo, I also want to share with you a specific example where we can also combine, for instance, the popular tabular graph with, in this case, a line graph showing the budget last year and the actual. And again, here I have the capability of drilling into any account where it will follow, the account that I have selected. And you can also see that here also are comments at the bottom. Finally, a customer example that we specifically built for this demo, and the data in this example is just random data. And so you can also see that we can create a very customized image with a lot of different data grids on one dashboard, which is of course very powerful as well. And again, here in this particular example, we can drill and have another angle of the data at our fingertips. So this is what I wanted to share with you in a very, very quick demo. Being conscious of the time, Alfonso, I think there are some questions. Can you quickly pick up the questions from your end?
Yes, thanks very much, Jean-Pierre. If I could just get you to put the final slide on. So if anybody wishes to contact ourselves, there are on the screen now, you should be able to see our contact details. So if you would like to make a note of those, you're more than welcome. There is one question that's come through, which is what could be the advantage of CXO versus SAP business object reporting? I think Jean-Pierre has summed up the answer to that particular question very well. You can see the commentary collection workflow capable of rolling up from the lowest level of entity. You can copy from the children into the group level. You can add additional charts and also attachments as well. There is even an instant messaging system within the solution, which we haven't had chance to actually answer. So there's lots of different aspects associated with CXO. You did also see earlier that Joost talked about Delaval, who uses SAP BPC, and they chose CXO Cockpit on top of the BO because of the advantages that CXO Cockpit delivers. I hope that's answered your question for that particular audience member. If not, please take our details and we'll spend a little bit more time with yourself answering that in a bit more detail. It just leaves me to thank Joost and Edgar for taking the time to prepare the information associated with the case studies that we shared with you today, to thank Jean-Pierre for doing a very, very short demonstration today, and to thank you, everybody, for listening to our presentation today. So I'm going to close the webinar for today. Thank you very much, everybody.